certain combinations of words like 2020 and the E word and the T word and the F word. Young man, did you just say the F word? And the F word, put them all together. Put them all together. What do you got? Go. No, you can't do that. Censorship. Go Team Censor. That's right. Go censorship. That's exactly what it is. Go censorship. Yes. You know, let's just proceed from cases here and talk logically like grown-up men with big boy underwear and women with big girl panties. The people that run the Democrat Party are not smart. There, I said it. They're not smart. The people that run the Democrat Party operate from a central intelligence source. The members of the stupid party that are in bed in cahoots with the Democrats all get their marching order from the same source. You know him as the prince of this world. It's another word we have to come up with a code word for, so we'll just call him the big red guy. How about that? He's Biden with a really healthy tan. The big red guy directs this army of darkness against the good people of the planet because you're human. You don't have to be anything else. You don't even have to be good. All you have to do is survive the womb, which in the United States is if I'm a Vegas odd maker, the odds on making it out of a womb these days are going down. If you not making it out are going up. So let's just boil this down to the simplest of all simples. The Democrat Party members are not smart. All you got to do is listen to them to figure that out. They're stupid. They're fat. They're lazy. They're all the other prideful, slothful, 7 deadly sins. These people are not sitting around in cigar smoke-filled rooms. They're sitting around in rooms, but they're not filled with cigar smoke. They are filled with the sounds of crying, screaming children. But they're sitting around and they're plotting these things out from time to time. And they have lots of other sin and evil they need to get to. So they're going to use a KISS solution. Keep it simple, stupid. Because we are stupid. So they're going to employ KISS. It is very likely, as a matter of fact, almost guaranteed, that whatever was done to elect the student body president for Kempsville High School in 2020, that's our code, just twixt you and I, whatever was done to elect the student body president for Kempsville High School in 2020, in a state that rhymes with Transylvania, you see, it's just code between all of us. In Transylvania, in a state that rhymes or kind of sounds like Snake Plissken or Pliskin, in a state that is named for an iced tea. These are all code twixt you and I now. In these states, they use the identical same methodology. Solution, if you will. Final solution. There was no need to think of a new one because they were convinced, and they were right, that this one would work. So fat, lazy, drunk, evil, very tan people went with a singular, fat-ass, lazy solution, and we now know what it is, or we know what it was. We can now pronounce with certain authority because I have been watching these hearings in the state that rhymes with Transylvania, in state Snake Plissken, and in the state that is named for an iced tea. I have been watching all these hearings for pert near 3 years now, and I can tell you the accusations are the same. The responses are identical. The evidence that is, well, what is like evidence and stuff that's brought forward is almost identical, and the methodology is the same. Basically, the pieces of paper that were used or are used for the selection of the Kempsville High School class of 2020 student body president were copied. They were pre-filled out. they were copied, and they were put into the system. There are a couple of little nuances in each individual classroom, if you will, but the end result is the same. The copies were embedded, inserted. They were ultimately put into this thing, and they were scanned, and ultimately they're counted. Hundreds of thousands in all four instances. In the Peachtree state, we have the story, and we have the digital media files. Now, some of it's kind of hard to hear. There were 338,000 that have been identified. Or is it 380,000? 380. How many is that, Dr. Evil? 380,000 ballots. If you whittle that down, there were 17,000 plus, at least 17,000 plus, and this is from one county. One county, it's from Fulton County, that were duplicates. Gee, I wonder what they were duplicated of, and I wonder who got the check marks. I'll bet it was not Herschel Walker. I'll bet it was not in the first primary or election. I'll bet it was not Kelly Loeffler. And we'll wager it was not Don John of Manhattan or Don John of Mar-a-Lago. 17,000 duplicates. Now, when you hear this, when you hear the proceedings, the audio is not that good because they're not using like lapel mics. So they're using the room mic primarily, but it's still worth listening to. There can be no doubt now. This is the guy at the end of now this isn't a hearing yesterday in the Georgia Senate. The guy at the end said, okay, here is the conclusion. Is that the one that is at is that number 4? No, that's number 6. So let me play it a punchline first here. Here is the conclusion. This is Joseph Rossi and this hearing yesterday. So he's going to wrap the whole thing up, then we'll get into the nuts and bolts. End of the day, all of you that have this sneaking suspicion that this stuff is rigged, you're right. All of you that have the dread that it's going to be done again, well, supposedly they're trying to prevent it. At least this time you would know what to look for. Because as I say, these people are fat, lazy, inventing an entirely new method of doing this. I don't know that you could, but if you could, you should be able to figure out, if you're a good sleuth, what method they may use this time. So this is yesterday from the Georgia Oversight Panel. I think they were meeting in the Senate chamber here. Joseph Rossi with the conclusion. Okay, what's happening here? Joseph Rossi. Okay, we're not going to have audio. Okay. All right, we'll come back to it. 844-527-8723. Looks like your Mac has crashed, is what it looks like to me. Okay, we can do it without audio. In a 2-to-1 vote, I'll just give you the nuts and bolts of the story. In a 2-to-1 vote on the panel that oversees how counties conduct elections, members agreed to admonish Fulton County. Again, there's that name, Fulton County.
Now I'd like to speak directly to those who have fought factually, respectfully, and relentlessly for the truth over the last 3 years.
Pay attention, you people.
As of 4/10/24, I got another one of these certified letters from the State Election Board. Every time I get one of those letters, my wife sets it on my desk, and she says, "You got another one of those certified letters. I hope you're not being indicted this time." But
hey, you're going to go hang out with Trump for a day.
As of that letter, it has now been factually proven that both the hand audit, this is really, really important, and the certified machine count, yes, the certified count, have both been found to be in violation of Georgia election law. Based on these findings, to those that have fought factually, respectfully, and relentlessly, I'll close with one word: vindicated.
Here's what he's talking about. Georgia's Secretary of State investigators say they were unable to determine how many of the invalid ballots were included in the results used to certify the 2020 election. Democrat Joe Biden narrowly defeated Trump. They keep, now you people that live in Georgia, our friends listening in Atlanta on 1010 WXKG, The King, our flagship station, you need to understand, Trump wasn't the only one that was on the ballot. Warnock was on the ballot too. You not only was your choice for El Presidente not counted correctly, it is very likely that your choice, because the scanned fake ballots that I saw were all vote Democrat. It is very likely that Raphael Warnock is not your member of the United States Senate. Now, put that into your peach cobbler and chomp on it. I think that they are intentionally avoiding that scandal. But they don't want to get into it because there's nothing that they can do about it. And they don't want people to think that they were just robbed in broad daylight, or I'm sorry, as the water pipe broke. Mike Churchill on the Crusade Radio Network. This is, as they say in the biz, this is huge. Huge, definitely huge. Very big, huge. And I'm watching the reruns of this hearing yesterday, and I might feel a little sense of vindication. That's true. But what you really feel is dread and sorrow. This was a crime that no one is going to pay for. This is a crime that precluded the Biden regime and all the damage that it's done and been able to inflict. And it's impossible to know because we can't know a hypothetical. Do you think that if Trump had won in 2020 and that the Biden regime and the coup never happened and that Biden was never installed, do you think that we would have the current stagflation that you're witnessing? Would there be this war against American manufacturing? Would there be this war against the internal combustion engine, for example? Here's a good one. Would 20 million illegal alien criminal trespassers have been invited in, given smartphones, $5,000 debit cards, and voter registration applications? None of this ever happens here. And no one, the bitch about all this is, and no one is going to pay for it. There is not a mention in the story of what happened in that Georgia hearing yesterday. There's not a solitary mention of someone being held accountable for it. If at the end of the day, the worst thing that comes out of this is not the inflation, and it is not all of the other atrocities, it's not the Title IX, it's not the promotion of fake girls and girls sports. Those are all atrocities. But the greatest atrocity of all, there will be no justice for those who received this act of injustice. Things would never have gotten out of the United States Senate if Schmuckle Schumer didn't have a one-vote majority. You take Raphael Warnock away, and Schmuckles doesn't have a majority. Instead, Mitch McConnell has it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that McConnell is appreciably better. You know, maybe in some instances, McConnell is better. And maybe those are some of the important ones. Welcome back to the Mike Church Show here on the Crusade Radio Network. So, to our 1010 WXKG listeners in Atlanta, I was just explaining, you didn't just lose the Pedden thing. State of Georgia now has a pair of Fabian socialist nutcases that are your members of the United States Senate. I don't think either one of them is legit. They're not too legit to quit. And as I was just explaining, these acts of injustices are not going to be repaired. Who's going to pay for this? All the kids, we were watching a video this morning. We're not going to play it, but we were watching a video this morning. Another Ute out there, another Gen Zer out there crying into his smartphone because he doesn't have a job. He's got a college, he's got a college degree. He's got a piece of paper, a debt that he can't repay. He doesn't think he's ever going to be able to buy a house, and he's screaming at his phone going like, this is real. This is what the America is really doing to young people like me. And there are literally every day, there are hundreds of these now. Does any of this happen if the Biden regime is not installed? I don't think it does. And the wrecking ball is not done. Folks, it is not finished. His work here is not yet finished. It seems that they know that they're not going to be the guy. Now, let me ask a question here on the Mike Church Show on the Crusade Radio Network. This portion of the program brought to you by the Mission Impossible Sales and the Founders Trading Post at shop.mikechurch.com. I am not kidding. If you just go to the homepage, there is a graphic. You'll see me as Tom Cruise hanging over the floor on wires. Yeah, it's a goofy picture. We did what we could, okay? I'm no Tom Cruise. I did take the photograph prone, though, if that helps any of you. I wasn't being hoisted up and held by wires, but it looks like I was. In any event, if you click that image, it'll take you to the Sale Impossible sales page. There are $35 and $40 books, for example, that are going for $5. When they're gone, they're gone. So, which is why it's a Mission Impossible sale, because it's never going to happen again. It's liquid. It clear the inventory. There's some pretty good reads in there though. There's Total Living, which is a good personal health book. So go to shop.mikechurch.com. You'll see it on the homepage. By the way, you can also download my talk, Barrett's talk, Parrott's talk, Colonel Manus's talk, Dan Mundy, the old farmer's talk, Mr. Barrett's talk, and all of them from the 2024 Congress as podcasts. They're up now. They are available. All right, so back to this story here. The worst thing that comes out of this is that there is no act of justice. Doesn't seem like anyone's going to be put on trial. You can't undo the damage that the Biden regime has done and is continuing to do. You can't undo the damage that the U.S. Senate was able to do because Schmuckles had a one-vote majority. You can't undo any of this. This is all in the record books. They say it goes on the baseball card now. This should be a touchstone moment for sane people. Sane people should be able to look at this and go like, okay, this can't ever happen. We don't want this to happen again. Here, play the, yes, we're going to talk about the Boy Scouts or the Gay Scouts of America. Did you know that the Gay Scouts were sued for how much? $2.36 billion in payouts to boys who were molested by troop leaders and other of those high up in the Gay Scouts hierarchy. 82,000 lawsuits. Tell you all about it next time. This is, all right, State Election Board member Janice Johnson. Now, this is where you get the 380,761 ballot images. And the hearing yesterday in Georgia, supposedly to try to wrap this up with a coda on it so it can never happen again, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. I don't live in Georgia. I will be traveling through there next week, though. Do you think that they're going to repair and see to it so that 2020 can't happen again this coming November? Here's what happened.
Does the investigation confirm that there are missing ballot images?
Yes.
Yes. Do you know why 380,761 ballot images from Election Day machine count are not available?
We subpoenaed Fulton County for all of their ballot images. We received approximately 518,000 ballot images.
From Election Day?
Those were for the recount.
Those are from the recount, but we have no ballot images for 380,761 ballots from Election Day, correct?
What was subpoenaed was the ballot images for the recount because that's what this case was about, not the election day.
Does Fulton County know why there are not 380,761 ballot images